Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. We're here today to discuss the issue of pediatric cancer, and I'm joined by members of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, the Vice Chair Nancy Barr and County Legislator Catherine Parker, along with State Senator Shelley Mayer, and also our Commissioner of Health, Dr. Charlita Amler, and also with key executives from the Pediatric Cancer Foundation, Pamela Pellegrini and Stephanie Mittman, who will be talking about this issue, which is a very important one in our society. It is an issue that we're recognizing during the month of September for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, but not just because there's a symbolism behind it, but there's a human side to this that's very touching and very important. And the resources that are made available through the state government, which I know Shelley Mayer will talk about, those things that we can do here in the county government are part of a partnership that helps us deal with this terrible reality, which is with many of us in this society. Almost 10,000 cases are identified in a given year for children under the age of 15 who are diagnosed with cancer. And there's some very key facts that are really sobering to us to know. Cancer is the leading cause of non-accidental deaths in children, something that perhaps isn't clear to us with so many other issues. For all of us to work together and work with organizations like PCF to help make a positive impact is really what this is about. So the symbolism before the end of this will be presented with proclamations from those of us in government, but more importantly that we're there to provide the support that they need in order to address this issue. So let me introduce Pamela Strauss Pellegrini, who is the president of the Pediatric Cancer Foundation, and she'll share some of her thoughts with us. Pamela.
First and foremost, thank you, Westchester County Executive George Latimer, Vice Chair of County Board of Legislators Nancy Barr, County Legislator Catherine Parker, and of course, State Senator Shelley Mayer, who has been so instrumental in lighting up that Mario Cuomo Bridge every September 14th in honor of childhood cancer. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all the legislators and their colleagues for their involvement in naming September 14th Pediatric Cancer Foundation Day. PCF was founded in 1970, originally Maxwell Leeds Pediatric Tumor Foundation. Maxwell, a little boy, had a brain tumor. His mother and her friends decided no child should suffer cancer, this horrific disease. At that time, the cure rate was 50%. Maxwell had a 50% chance of surviving. Thankfully, he did survive, and the foundation gained traction and membership grew into what is now Pediatric Cancer Foundation, a nonprofit charitable organization dedicated to eradicating childhood cancer. We are a volunteer board of approximately 40 men and women, teenagers through octogenarians who share the same vision. We spend countless hours raising funds for groundbreaking research so that no other parent has to hear the words, "Your child has cancer." We work with doctors and a medical advisory board to ensure that every donation funds a project that has been thoroughly reviewed and vetted. And since our inception, we have donated over $20 million to these doctors at the hospitals we support. We have helped move that needle for a cure rate of 50% back in 1970 to over 80% what it is today. But that means that close to 20% of these children will not survive, and that is not acceptable to us. In April 2022, we hosted our first PCF walks and raised $280,000. We honored a 7-year-old little girl who had just kicked cancer to the curb. Prior to our walk, Katie cut the ribbon. The ribbon was held by the doctors who treated her, doctors who we funded. That's who we are. We give cancer a face, a voice, a name. We fight for these children, for these families, and we won't stop until we no longer need to exist. You see, cancer is still the leading cause of non-accidental deaths in children. 1 out of 285 children will have a cancer diagnosis by their 20th birthday. Children's cancer happens regularly and randomly, sparing no ethnic group, socioeconomic class, or geographic region. This November 16th, we will be hosting our marquee event at Modern Barn in Armonk. We are raising the bar in our fight and look to raise $250,000. Our doctors depend on us so they can continue their life-saving work. and we will not let them down. So here in 914, on 914, Pediatric Cancer Foundation wants to recognize children in Westchester and beyond who are battling cancer and raise awareness for these families. Together, we can be hopeful. Together, we can move that needle closer to 100% as we are all coming together for a cure. Thank you very much. I introduce you to Stephanie Mittman, our Vice President and Medical Liaison.
Thank you, Pam. Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Mittman. I have the honor of being an executive board member and medical liaison of Pediatric Cancer Foundation. As a medical liaison, I have the privilege of working directly with the doctors and hospitals that we support. PCF stands out in that we have a very stringent grant process and legally binding contracts that assures we are funding cutting-edge research and groundbreaking treatment, and that the funds provided go directly to the research and treatment and not to any extraneous costs. We also have a medical advisory board made up of renowned oncologists and researchers who provide us with important insights during the entire grant process. It just so happens that I volunteer at Westchester's own Maria Ferrari Children's Hospital at WMC, one of the hospital's PCF funds. I directly volunteer with patients, and I get to see how our fundraising efforts go directly from bench to bedside. And there is no greater feeling than hearing a parent tell me that the treatment worked and there is no more evidence of disease or cancer. This is why we are all here today, so that no child and their family have to suffer this devastating disease. Thank you, Westchester County Executive Latimer, and everyone else in our great county who is helping in our mission to eradicate childhood cancer.
Thank you very much, Stephanie Mittman and Pamela Strauss-Pellegrini, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your voluntary effort, your personal philanthropy, and the ability to marshal together so many wonderful people to be able to deal with this issue. And many times it strikes families without any rhyme or reason, but for those families that it may not reach, there's still a reason to be helpful and to try to be there for you as you make this effort. And we compliment PCF for the work that they've done. That work comes in a partnership, and the partnership is what happens in the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, individual philanthropy, and also the role that government can play. And in this particular case, the role that the state government can play and the county government can play in trying to add resources and attention, public attention, to the issue of pediatric cancer. So State Senator Shelley Mayer is with us, my good friend. She's done an exemplary job for us in Albany. She chairs the Senate Education Committee, and in that regard, very focused on the lives of young people in education, and of course the natural outgrowth of that is in healthcare as well. So we're very happy that she's with us here. Senator Mayer, please share your thoughts.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you. This is really such an exciting and important day for us and thank you to my colleagues in the county board and to my friend George, and certainly to PCF for helping make sure that everybody knows that PCF is out there, that parents know when they get that most scary diagnosis, that they have allies and friends and supporters who are raising money to help their child. For me, when PCF came to me, I think it was now 2 or 3 years ago, about getting the bridge lit, the Mario Cuomo Bridge lit for pediatric cancer. And we went to bat with the governor's office and got it done and had a kickoff, and that's continued each year, and we will continue the effort. And as George said, to draw attention, but also at a human level, to make parents and others know they have friends, they have allies, they have leaders, they have people who are willing to raise money to help their child, their grandchild, their neighbor's child, someone who is struggling with cancer, and to find a way to deal with cancer in their personal life and then organizationally to move beyond that. So I'm so very, very humbled to be part of this effort with my county colleagues, but really to give so much credit to PCF for, you have to be dogged, let's just be blunt, to get things done in a society where government is bureaucratic and difficult. You have to be determined and care enough. And that's what PCF has done, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Shelley Mayer. We're joined here in our group from the county government by the presence of Dr. Charlita Amler, who is our commissioner of the Department of Health. She has been a marvelous leader for us on all matters of health care. Need I say, what we went through for a number of years in the COVID situation was made possible because of Charlita's professional direction, along with her team, the medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, and so forth in her department. And she is an advocate within this government for the kind of efforts that we need to make with the healthcare industry, and in this particular case, because she comes out of pediatric medicine. This is a particularly important area for her, and we're very grateful that she's here with us. I want to recognize next two of my colleagues in government, both members of the Westchester County Board of Legislators. Nancy Barr is the Vice Chair of the Board of Legislators. She represents the 6th District, which is Rybrook, Portchester, and a section of Harrison. And Catherine Parker, who's a past majority leader of the board, she represents Rye, Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and a section of Harrison on the Board of Legislators. And whenever the two of them get together, I pretty much try to do whatever it is that they ask me to do, because they're both very smart and very committed. And we're very grateful that they have taken on a role of leadership in this area. I'll ask them both to speak, and then as we get ready to do the presentation of proclamations to proclaim the month, there's a legislative proclamation and an executive branch proclamation. Make a note, the legislature and the executive in agreement on something here in Westchester. I will ask them each to have these proclamations to present to our friends from PCF. So first, Vice Chair of the Board, Legislator Nancy Barr.
Thank you so much, George. I believe it was Shelley Mayer's office, actually, that reached out to us and told us about this organization, and I'm so glad that that they did. As a parent, I cannot imagine anything more devastating than having a child with a terminal illness or potentially terminal illness. So to have a group like this, like the Pediatric Cancer Foundation, out there raising money, helping to get research underway is just phenomenal. And the fact that it's done by volunteers is all the more amazing. I think that we sometimes, take for granted what is going on around us and not realize how much time is spent by people of their own free will, without compensation, working on causes that they really care about. And I think that's one of the things that makes Westchester County such an amazing place to live, because no matter how much bad news we get, and we get plenty of bad news, we're always lifted up by the fact that there are these people like Stephanie and Pamela and the rest of the board who are really working to make people's lives better. And I just want to thank you so much, and I'm so glad that we could bring more attention to this organization and to its mission, and I'm hope to work with you more in the future to do this again. Thank you.
Catherine.
I first want to thank Pam and Stephanie again for your leadership on this. As an elected official for the last 16 years, I've gotten to know many people within my district, and I know several families who unfortunately have lost children to pediatric cancer. I also happen to know survivors of pediatric cancer, and that is what I think we are all focused on. The number that you have been able to successfully drive from a 50% chance of survival to now over 80% is in itself a huge success, and you should all feel that you have achieved so much. $20 million to work towards that, to help find those cures, is absolutely monumental. And by adding our voices as elected officials so that we can help get the word out and hopefully help find some new people, that this will be on their radar on Thursday when the bridge is lit, when your name is up in lights at the county center, when you see that we are making a concerted effort to drive attention to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation, that people will then start to say, what can I do? I've been fortunate with my children. I know somebody, we all know somebody, and if we can all help and come together, and we have, speaking of coming together, it's been a busy week for you, and this is not the first time that we've seen each other this week. And so I thank you again for your leadership, for getting the word out, and we are here just to help amplify that very, very important message. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Nancy. This is the, I gather this is the executive proclamation, and you have a legislative proclamation, so one of you can hold this one, and the other one have that one. Before you present it, and I'll step out of the way so comments can be shared as we close this off. Today happens to be the day of my daughter's birthday. She is a grown woman with 2 children of her own. They don't live in the area. They're in Lexington, Kentucky. But when I think of this particular issue, and I think of my daughter's having a birthday today, I think of a time when she was very young, under the age of 2, and there was some concern about her growth. And our pediatrician had us go to the medical center for some testing. This is before there was a Maria Ferrari Children's Hospital. And ultimately, everything turned out fine. But during the period of testing, where she had to go through, uncomfortable testing, and as parents, we were deeply worried about whether or not our child was in severe situation or not. I cannot tell you that there was not another thing in my life at that time. I wasn't yet in public office, but I had my professional career. Whatever other things were happening in our lives, nothing was more important than the health of our daughter at that moment in time, our baby daughter, 1.5 years at the time. And while it didn't turn out to be cancer, and it didn't turn out to have the element of severity that others have, that feeling is shared by everybody who has ever been a parent. And anytime there is any concern that you have for your children, how much more so when you do have a diagnosis, and then all of the effort that goes into helping that child survive and ultimately to thrive. And the success stories make all of the effort that goes into this, the fundraising efforts and the public education efforts, worthwhile. So we're happy in the county government, I'm sure in the state government, that we can be a small part of this public education process. And that is part of what the declaration by Westchester County is of this month, so that it can focus public attention on this, more people can be made aware of it, and we can get closer to 100% positive response. So I'll ask my 2 legislative colleagues, Pamela and Stephanie, to come and receive the award, proclamations.
So, okay, this is the executive proclamation, as George mentioned, and we're very happy to be able to present this on his behalf. And this is the legislative proclamation, which comes with the special honor of
September 14th will be declared Pediatric Cancer Foundation Day in Westchester County, and again, your name will be up in lights at the Westchester County Center for all to see. So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day.